Hello Whovians, welcome back to another video. Today we are ranking Season 2 of Doctor Who. And yeah, this is going to be quite an interesting one. There's some real stinkers in this season. At the same time, there are some flipping amazing episodes. Firstly, before we get into this video, if you are new, then please do subscribe and also give this video a like. I also want to point out that I count two-parters as one. So we are ranking 10. There'll be 10 in the rankings today. So let's start off from the very bottom, which is number 10, The Idiot's Lantern. And the clue's in the title really, idiot. Yeah, this is really hard actually to rank this because it could have been alright at a push. It could have been alright. It got a bit silly at the end when Maureen Lipman just started saying, hungry! Oh, it just didn't do anything for me. I thought it was utterly quite shocking, really. And I have the young boy who is sort of being abused by his father. And, you know, I can appreciate that we have that sort of, you know, the Doctor coming in to sort of almost save him and sort of, you know, find out what's going on, and, you know, TV eating people's faces again. The idea's there. It just doesn't do very well for me. I don't really enjoy the feel of the episode. It's pretty rubbish, and yeah, it doesn't do it for me at all. Number 9, Love and Monsters. Oh yes, this episode is hated amongst Whovians. I don't use that word lightly. It's absolutely hated, and a lot of you will be shocked why it's not on my bottom. It's because, again, this episode isn't actually hugely terrible. Again, it could be alright. Yes, I know it's absolutely ridiculous. The villain is ridiculous, but I've forgotten his social. I think it's Mark Warren. I think that's his name. The guy that sort of, you know, he's seen the Doctor before and then he starts seeing him again, and we don't really see the Doctor a lot in this episode, but I like the story of him sort of seeing him over time, and sort of him narrating this episode and the friends that he has, and I sort of like the community feel that the people had of each other. So it was a nice sort of story, and then it just got completely ruined where people started going basically getting eaten and their faces were shoved into a stuff. No, it's just I don't know what to say about it. It's just, you know, I can remember it in a bad way, and it generally it didn't flow for me at all. I didn't like it, but it's not at the bottom of my list. Now the next one is number 8, Fear Her. This, as I said, this season has a few stinkers, but I didn't actually mind this one as much as the other two. Out of the stinkers of season 2, this one is the best one. Again, the villain, it's a bit, to me. The fact that literally a squiggle on a piece of paper turns into a villain, I thought was actually pretty cool. It's very imaginative. It's just very, yeah. The imagination, the style of it, I actually quite like. But apart from that, the rest of it doesn't really mix for me. The story's meh, you know, it's just sort of like a meh episode. I like the idea that if she draws someone, they disappear again. That is pretty cool. But at the same time, I can recognise the negatives from this that a lot of people have pointed out. So yeah, I understand why it's also not loved by people. But at the same time, it is the best out of a bad bunch. Number 7. It's the first one, New Earth. Yeah, I actually had this lower on my list until I watched it back, and actually it went higher. And the cats I hated, and now I actually quite like. But I think most of all what I can appreciate from this episode, which I couldn't appreciate before, is the face of Bo. Now, the fact that we find, you know, the sort of the history and the story with the face of Bo, you couldn't appreciate back when it first aired. When I've rewatched it, when I know the story, when I know who the face of Bo really is, it's really just a nice little payoff for me to know. And his sort of involvement in the episode is much more big, it's much more important, and as I said, I can appreciate it a lot more. But yet again, I quite like the sort of urgency we have. It's David Tennant's first episode. He bangs it out of the park. So does Billie Piper. And I quite like the sort of villains that we get in this. You know, it's very disgusting and sort of like zombie sort of things wandering around. And again, I love the ending. I love the payoff. And now I think about it, I could have put this episode a bit higher, but I'm going to stick with number 7. So let's move up to number 6, and I feel like I don't know if this should have been higher or not, but it is the two-parter of Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel. Again, having the Cybermen introduced, they were fantastic. This is one of the best Cybermen episodes there is out there. It's just, comparing it to the overall season, it doesn't do it for me. I love the gang that we get. I love it. I love that everyone comes together, and as I said, I love the sort of the ending of part 1. It's such a cliffhanger, and David Tennant pulls out of the bar, you want to say, again. I just guess that it just... like, the Cyberman Emperor, I wasn't really impressed with him. I thought I would be, but I wasn't really impressed when I rewatched him. He was sort of just not really doing it for me as much the second time. But yeah, it's sort of the episode that's got its really good positives, but it's also just a bit but not bad at all. Number 5, The Girl in the Fireplace. I don't remember this one very much, but I do remember it being pretty good. And that's all I can say. There's not much else really to say. I love that obviously we see Mickey joining the Doctor and Rose, and I just sort of like their chemistry that we have. I love the sort of the setting and the story that we get from it as well. And yeah, it's sort of like, you know, it's the middle of my list because it's a sort of episode that's just, it's just good. It's just pretty good, but it's nothing to rave about. Yeah, that's it really. Number 4, Tooth and Claw. Now, some of you are probably quite shocked why I have put this so high. It's because this is the most recent episode I have watched. We're talking literally a couple of days ago, and again, I can appreciate it so much more because of Torchwood sort of being involved, and actually for the sort of time that the episode was made, I thought the graphics were pretty good. The wolf was pretty scary. I loved his transformation. I loved the sort of stories that are told. Maybe, I don't know if it was played for a comedic effect at the start with the sort of guys with the sticks, obviously trying to kill the Queen Victoria, fantastically played. I don't know the actress, I'm sorry, but she done it ever so well. I thought they were a bit funny though, waving around with their sticks. I thought that was a bit funny, but again, I sort of felt scared once they sort of were in their suits and then looked a lot more serious. I loved how David Tennant and Rose were sort of... Rose wanted to tell the Queen to say, we are not amused, and I love the sort of banter they have with the Queen Victoria and David Tennant going into a Scottish accent. It's got its positives, and I think, again, it's quite underrated by a lot of people. The only annoying thing that I get from this episode is the fact that we have 2 people that die in this, and they are... they sort of say, go, I bide you time, but they don't literally buy them out a few seconds, and they end up, you know what I mean? They're sort of standing with their sword trying to kill the wolf, and obviously they can't. And it's just like, I just don't really think, it's just a waste of a life. You could have easily ran into the door with them and shut the door and helped them board it up instead of standing out there being all brave. But at the same time, they died of bravery, and I guess that's what soldiers do. I also love the payoff as well. The payoff is amazing of the episode. Number 3. School Reunion. Oh, I love this episode so much. It's got so many positives. We get Sarah Jane Smith back. We get K9, Mickey, the Doctor, and Rose. Again, I love the banter. I love the flow. And with all 4 of them, if you include K9 as number 5, it's just tip-top. The villains, fantastic. It's pretty disturbing at times that teachers are basically eating students, and I love the sort of history of the monsters as well. But as again, Anthony Head playing the main villain here, he is truly amazing. I love the sort of standoff we get between him and David Tennant, 2 fantastic actors playing their role fantastically, and they did it fantastic in this episode. They deserve praise for how they done it. It was very, very well done. Yet again, I sort of like how it ends. K9 sort of rescuing the day. And yeah, it's just an all-out fun episode. I quite enjoy it. I love the sort of sassy sort of between Sarah Jane Smith and Billie Piper, Rose. I think that's quite funny. And we sort of, again, Sarah's sort of Rose is a bit worried that, are you going to leave me just like Sarah Jane did? Just like I left her? Just like you left... and Rose is like worried, like am I going to turn out like Sarah Jane, sort of left on the doorstep by the Doctor, grow old on my own sort of thing, and we sort of get that sort of, oh, you know, and yeah, I like that, it gets a good mix of it. Moving on though to number 2, Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. Now, this one is flipping heartbreaking. It's the finale of season 2 and it really gets you in the Goonies, doesn't it? You know, Rose telling the Doctor that she loves him. Oh, it's so heartbreaking, and you know, seeing the Doctor cry at the end of the episode. It's one way to end a season with a bang after a few mix and match of episodes. That's one way to just end it in such a sad but really good way. And obviously the Cybermen I completely forgot that the Cybermen are even in this episode until I rewatched. I was like, oh yeah, what are they doing here? They were you know, this was better than they were in obviously Rise of the Cybermen, etc. And they just still, you know, it's so sad, and that's all I can say on this episode. It is so sad, and again, the Cybermen are really, really good in this, but that ending, it is blimmin' sad, and that's why it deserves a place on number 2. But if you are a Doctor Who fan, you will know what number 1 is, and it's number 1 by quite some bit, and that is The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. Now, I don't know where to start with this episode. It's an amazing, amazing episode, and that's all I can say. I love the sort of eeriness around not really know what's going on, and the devil, the worst villain you could possibly get, coming up against the Doctor and the whole crew on board. You know, they were so happy, they were so just the crew, and then all of a sudden this comes on and it scares the living daylights out of everyone. They're right next to the black hole, you know, scary in itself. The whole episode is just creepy. Again, the Ood, who I absolutely love. I have an Ood little guy over there. I love the Ood so much, but they're so vulnerable. They can be taken up by, you know, the devil very, very easily. It shows the power of the devil. It's just so good. And I haven't seen this one probably for a couple of months now, and I really am. I would love to re-watch it because I think it's just so good. It's also very sad at times, but at the same time, it's just so good. Okay, believe me on that one. So there we go. That is my ranking. Do you agree? You probably don't agree. You may agree. Let me know in the comments what you thought. If you are new to the channel, then please do subscribe and give this video a like. We're coming into the season 3 next, and I'm very, very excited indeed. But for now, Whovians, I'll see you all later. Goodbye.